Hey, everyone. I'm Jane, a 27-year-old who thought she had life all figured out. Let me take you through my journey, honest and straightforward. It all started when I switched jobs and became an accountant at a new company. That's where I met Mark, the charming sales guy with a knack for making you feel special. Our first encounter was in the break room by the temperamental coffee machine. Hey, you're the new accountant, right? Mark asked, leaning casually against the door frame with a smirk. Guilty as charged. I'm Jane, and you are? I responded, trying to sound nonchalant but clearly intrigued. I'm Mark, head of sales and the office's unofficial coffee machine expert, he said with a wink. We both laughed, and from then on, there was an undeniable spark between us. Fast forward 2 years, and Mark planned the most romantic proposal, a beach getaway, dinner at sunset, and then he got down on one knee. It felt like a scene out of a movie. I said yes, without a second thought. Our wedding was a dream come true, and we started our married life in my grandpa's old house, a place brimming with charm and history that I've always loved. A few weeks into our new life, Mark came up with a big idea. Jane, have you ever thought about taking a break from work, maybe being a housewife for a while? Mark suggested one evening, his eyes hopeful. I was caught off guard. A housewife? But Mark, I'm passionate about my career, I replied, trying to mask my confusion. I get it, Jane. But work is going well for me. We can afford it. Imagine, no stress, just us, and maybe starting a family soon, he said, reaching for my hand. His enthusiasm was convincing, so despite my reservations, I agreed. Why not shake things up a bit? The first few weeks were thrilling. I finally had time for gardening, reading, and experimenting with new recipes. Mark came home to a clean house and dinner on the table. We spent our evenings making plans and enjoying each other's company. It felt like an extended honeymoon. But as time went on, I began to feel restless. I missed the challenges of my job and the satisfaction of solving complex problems. Even the annoying buzz of my office phone seemed oddly comforting. I brushed these feelings aside, telling myself it was just an adjustment period. Then things started to shift. Mark's compliments about the house and dinner turned into expectations. If dinner was late or the house wasn't perfect, he made comments that stung more than I wanted to admit. I began to feel less like a partner and more like a housekeeper. I reached out to my best friend, Laura, to talk about it. I feel like I'm losing myself, I confided in her. Jane, you're a firecracker. Don't let this housewife role put out your spark, Laura encouraged, her concern evident. She had a point. I've always been proud of my independence, and now I felt like I was losing my way in a role I never envisioned for myself. Just when I thought I had settled into this new routine, Mark dropped a bombshell that turned everything upside down. One evening, he came home looking unusually serious. Jane, we need to talk, he started, not even bothering to take off his coat. What's up? You look like you've seen a ghost, I joked, trying to lighten the mood. It's my parents. Their apartment is being renovated, and they need a place to stay for a couple of weeks, Mark said, avoiding eye contact. A couple of weeks? Well, if it's just for a short while, I suppose it's okay, I agreed reluctantly. Thanks, babe. They'll respect our space, I promise, he assured me, grateful. Fast forward a few days, and Mark's parents, Bob and Linda, arrived. The house quickly turned into chaos as bags, boxes, even furniture. It felt like they brought everything but the kitchen sink. Jane, dear, make some room, we've got a lot of stuff, Linda announced as she barged in with a box that seemed to contain her entire life. Bob followed, struggling with a large armchair. Hope you don't mind us bringing some comforts from home, he grunted as he squeezed it through the door. Our cozy home was suddenly filled with their belongings. It was overwhelming, to say the least, and that was just the beginning. Bob and Linda didn't waste any time making themselves at home. Bob took over the TV, flipping channels as if it were his own. Linda started rearranging my kitchen. Linda, what are you doing? I asked, trying to stay calm. Oh, just organizing things a bit better, dear. You know how it is, she replied without even looking at me. I bit my tongue, reminding myself it was temporary, but inside, I was seething. This was my home, and they were treating it like a vacation spot. Then came the dinner disaster. I had prepared a healthy salad and grilled chicken, my usual fare, but Linda looked at her plate as if I'd served her weeds. What's this, rabbit food? She scoffed, pushing the plate away with a look of disdain. Mom, come on, Jane worked hard on this, Mark interjected, trying to defend me. It's fine, Mark, I can whip up something else, I said, though my frustration was boiling beneath the surface. No, let's just order pizza. I need some real food, Bob announced, already reaching for his phone. That night, as I lay in bed next to Mark, I couldn't shake the feeling of being an outsider in my own home. Mark was snoring peacefully, oblivious to the turmoil churning inside me. I was handling all the hosting, cooking, and cleaning, yet felt like an unpaid maid in my own house. Bob and Linda had turned my home into their personal playground. Linda began taking over the kitchen as if she were running a military operation. One morning, as I prepared my usual avocado toast, she barged in and made a face. "What are you eating, bird food?" she sneered, rummaging through the fridge. "It's avocado toast, Linda. It's healthy," I replied, trying to stay calm. "Healthy, schmelthy. You need some real food, girl. Here, let me make you some eggs and bacon," she said, pushing me aside. I stood there fuming as she took over my breakfast, clearly disrespecting both my choices and my space. Then there was Bob. He had claimed our living room as his personal lounge. One evening, I wanted to watch my favorite show, but Bob was sprawled on the couch, watching a loud action movie. "Bob, do you mind if I watch my show? It's the season finale tonight," I asked, holding the remote. "No can do, Jane. I'm watching this. Find something else to do," he replied without even looking at me. I couldn't believe it. I felt like a stranger in my own living room and stormed off. But the real kicker came a few days later. I found Linda rummaging through my closet. "My closet, Linda? That's my personal space," I yelled, finally losing my temper. "Oh, relax, Jane. I'm just making room for our things. You've got too much junk here anyway," she said dismissively, tossing my clothes aside. That's when Mark walked in. "What's all the yelling about?" he asked, looking concerned. "Your mother is going through my things. That's what's wrong," I snapped. "Mom, maybe you should ask Jane before moving her stuff," Mark said, but his tone was half-hearted. Fine. I was just trying to help," Linda huffed, leaving the room. Mark turned to me. "Jane, can't you just let it go? They're just trying to fit in. They're taking over." "Mark, this is our home, not theirs," I said, my voice rising with frustration. Mark sighed. "Just bear with it a bit longer, okay?" In that moment, I felt completely alone. My home no longer felt like mine, and it seemed like Mark was more aligned with his parents than with me. The situation was already tense, but what happened next really pushed me to my breaking point. One day, I realized my bank card was missing. I went into full panic mode, tearing the house apart in search of it. To my shock, I found it in the most unexpected place, Linda's purse. I confronted her immediately. "Linda, why is my bank card in your purse?" I demanded, trying to keep my voice steady. "Oh, I needed to buy a few things and didn't have any cash on me," she shrugged nonchalantly. "I didn't think it would be a big deal," she added, as if that made it okay. "A big deal? You took my card without asking. That's theft." I was fuming. Just then, Mark walked in. "What's going on here?" he asked, glancing between me and his mother. "Your mom used my bank card without my permission," I said, feeling a mix of frustration and helplessness. I held up the card and explained the situation. Mark turned to Linda. "Mom, you should have asked before using Jane's card," he said, clearly irritated. Linda rolled her eyes. "I only needed a few groceries. It's not like I bought a diamond necklace." I could hardly believe my ears. "It's my money, Linda. You can't just take my things without asking." That's when Mark dropped a bombshell. "Jane, let's not make a big deal out of this. You're living off my money anyway, so what's the harm if my mom uses it?" I was stunned. His words felt like a slap in the face. "Your money? This is our money, Mark, and our marriage." He shrugged dismissively. "It's not a big deal. She'll pay you back." I felt like I was trapped in a nightmare. My husband was siding with his mother over something so serious. As the weeks passed, the tension in the house grew unbearable. I decided it was time to address the situation directly. "So, when are you two planning to move back to your apartment?" I asked Bob and Linda one evening during dinner. They just laughed. "Move back? Why would we do that?" Linda said, exchanging a look with Mark. "Yeah, we've decided to stay here. It's much nicer, and Mark doesn't want to waste money on rent for us," Bob added. I turned to Mark, searching for an explanation. He avoided my gaze. "Yeah, Jane, it doesn't make sense to rent a place when we have space here," he said. I sat there, stunned. My home, my sanctuary, was being overrun. My husband, whom I thought was my partner, was now telling me his parents were staying indefinitely. Just when I thought things couldn't get worse, they did. One day, I went for a jog to clear my head, but luck wasn't on my side. I tripped and fell, and the pain was immediate. I knew I had broken my leg. Hopping back home was a struggle. When I finally arrived, I found Mark and his parents in the living room. "Mark, I think I broke my leg. I need to go to the hospital," I said, trying to keep the pain from showing in my voice. Mark looked up, clearly irritated. "What now, Jane? Can't you see we're busy here?" Linda added, "Oh, stop being dramatic. It's probably just a sprain." "No, it really hurts. I need help," I insisted, feeling dizzy from the pain. Bob scoffed. "At your age, you shouldn't be running around like a teenager. Serves you right." I couldn't believe their responses. "I'm in pain here. Can't any of you see that?" Mark finally stood up, his expression more annoyed than concerned. "Fine, I'll take you. But this better not be an excuse to avoid housework." At the hospital, it was confirmed I had a broken leg. The next few weeks were hell. I was stuck at home on crutches, barely able to move. You'd think my husband and his parents would help, but no, they acted as if nothing had changed. I was still expected to cook and clean. One day, I was struggling to make lunch on my crutches when Linda walked in and saw me struggling. "Can't you do that any faster? We're hungry," she said, showing no sign of sympathy. "I'm doing the best I can with one leg," I snapped, my frustration boiling over. "Well, it's not good enough. You're being incredibly lazy," Linda snapped. Just then, Mark walked in. "What's going on here?" he asked, glancing from me to his mother. "Your wife is taking forever to make lunch. It's like she's using her injury as an excuse," Linda complained. Mark sighed in frustration. "Jane, can't you try a bit harder? We're all hungry here." I was stunned. "Try harder. I'm on crutches." "Mark, what do you expect me to do?" He shrugged and walked out of the kitchen with his mom, leaving me seething and in pain. The situation took another turn for the worse soon after. A few weeks following my injury, Linda and Bob announced they were hosting Thanksgiving at our house and inviting their relatives over. The news hit me like a punch to the gut. "Thanksgiving at our house?" I asked incredulously. "How am I supposed to manage that with my leg like this?" Linda waved her hand dismissively. "Oh, you won't have to do much. Just stay out of the way and let us handle it," she said. I was furious. "This is my house, Linda. You can't just invite people over without consulting me first." Mark stepped in. "Jane, it's just a family gathering. Let's not make a big deal out of it." "A big deal? Mark, I can barely walk. And now your parents are turning our home into a party venue," I said, my voice rising. Bob added, "We thought it would be nice to have a family gathering here. After all, we're all living under the same roof now." Then Linda dropped another bombshell. "Actually, Jane, we were thinking it might be best if you stayed somewhere else for a couple of weeks. With your leg and all, you'd just be in the way." I stared at her, shocked. "Stay somewhere else? In my own house?" "Yes, dear. Just for a couple of weeks. It's for the best," Linda said, as if she were doing me a favor. My blood began to boil. "You want me to leave my house so you can host a party? That's outrageous." Mark tried to sound reasonable. "Jane, it's just for a short while. It'll be easier for everyone." "Easier for everyone? This is my home, Mark. I'm not going anywhere," I said, my voice trembling with anger. Bob shrugged. "We thought you'd appreciate not having to deal with the holiday stress." That was the last straw. "Get out, both of you. Get out of my house now," I yelled, feeling a surge of rage and disbelief. Mark's face turned red. "Jane, you're being unreasonable. They're my parents. You can't just kick them out." "Unreasonable? They're taking over my home, and you're letting them," I practically screamed. Mark's expression hardened. "If you can't respect my parents, maybe we shouldn't be together. Is that what you want? A divorce?" I glared at him, adrenaline coursing through me. Without a word, I went to my desk drawer and pulled out a set of papers I had prepared just in case things went south. "What's this?" Mark asked, his voice wavering as he took the papers from my hand. "Divorce papers. I've had them ready for a while," I said, my voice firm. Mark stared at the papers, then back at me, clearly stunned. "You're serious? You'd really go through with this?" "Yes, I am. I refuse to be mistreated in my own home. Not by you. Not by anyone, I said, feeling a strange sense of empowerment amid the chaos. Linda and Bob stood there, speechless. Mark looked as if he'd been punched in the gut. The room was thick with tension. Make your choice, Mark. Your parents or our marriage, I said, holding my ground. Mark's laugh was cold and hard. Fine, he said, and to my surprise, he signed the papers right then and there. You'll regret this, Jane. You can't even support yourself without me, he said with a sneer. I watched him leave, a mix of relief and disbelief washing over me. I'll manage, I said softly, though my voice was barely a whisper. Mark shrugged. You're on your own then, and he and his parents gathered their things and left. Just like that, my marriage was over. As the door closed behind them, I felt a strange sense of peace. Alone, but it was a better alternative to the constant tension and disrespect. The first thing I did was change the locks, securing my personal fortress. Thanksgiving came and went faster than I expected. I was still adjusting to my new reality, finding solace in the quiet of my home. Then, unexpectedly, there was a knock at the door. I opened it to find Mark, his parents, and a bunch of their relatives standing there, ready to celebrate. What are you doing here? I asked, astonished. We're here for Thanksgiving, Jane. Did you really think we weren't coming? Mark said with a smug grin. I couldn't believe their audacity. You're not welcome here anymore, Mark. This is my house, and you're no longer part of my family, not after what you did. Linda interjected. Oh, come on, Jane, don't be so petty. Let's just have a nice dinner. I stood my ground. No, you need to leave now. Mark laughed. You can't kick us out. This was our family home. Not anymore. I changed the locks. Mark, you forfeited any right to this house when you signed those papers, I said, feeling a surge of empowerment. There was a tense silence. Mark's face flushed with anger. Fine, have it your way, he said, and they all turned and left. After the Thanksgiving ordeal, I began to rebuild my life. It wasn't easy, but it was mine. A few weeks after Mark and his family left for good, I was sitting in my quiet, peaceful living room when my best friend Laura dropped by. Hey, Jane, how are you holding up? Laura asked, her eyes scanning the room. Better than I expected, actually, I replied, offering her a smile. Laura sat down, observing me closely. You seem different, stronger somehow. I chuckled. Yeah, I guess shedding dead weight does that. We both laughed, and in that moment, I felt lighter than I had in months. But seriously, what's next for you, Jane? Laura asked, her tone becoming more serious. I took a deep breath. I'm going back to work. I've started looking for accounting jobs. It's a bit scary, but it's time to get back on my feet. Laura nodded. That's the spirit. You were always the smartest one at the office. They'll be lucky to have you back. Her words meant a lot and gave me the boost I needed. I was ready to face the world again on my own terms. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of job interviews and getting my life back on track. I landed a great position at a local firm, and for the first time in a long while, I was excited about the future. My home was mine again. My life was mine again. I had faced the worst and come out stronger.